Hey, everybody. This is Principal PLN podcast, episode 100. Woo!
Yay.
I feel like we need confetti.
Yes, confetti, and stars. And
Fireworks.
We got all of that.
We got all
We
that.
have...
Principal's running in the background, screaming from excitement.
Yay! So we have had 99 episodes of no plan of what we were doing, and apparently people liked how those podcasts turn out. So that is this plan for today as well. We have, how about you each introduce yourself?
We could do that, sure.
Do y'all have the same order at the bottom from left to right? Like is Jay on the left and we just go in order?
I'm on the right on my screen.
Oh,
Drats.
all right. Well,
Foiled.
let's start with Jay.
All right, I'm Jay Posick. I'm the intermediate school principal in little old Merton, Wisconsin. Merton has a feed mill, a bar, and a stop sign. That's about all we have in town in our school. I work with some amazing staff and some amazing families, and we're there for the kids every day.
Awesome.
Cabeen.
All right. Jessica Cabeen, Austin, Minnesota, current principal of the happiest place in southeastern Minnesota, otherwise known as the Woodson Kindergarten Center. We have more than a stop sign, Jay. We have a spam museum here.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's free. Free spam museum.
Sarah.
All right. Hey, I'm Sarah Johnson. And for another couple of weeks, I'm officially the Spooner High School principal. And then after that, I belong to the earth and the sky and the fields. We're the rails, and just ended my year with students in a pink wig singing on stage. So, hey, leading boldly.
Impressive.
And you sang pink.
Well, yeah, that's the point, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have grabbed a pink wig.
I am Tony Sinanis. I am currently a superintendent of schools in Hastings, but in a couple of weeks I will be the assistant superintendent for human resources and leadership development in Chappaqua in New York.
Awesome. You're hard to keep track of, Tony.
I am. It's Where in the World is Tony Sinanis. We're going to play that after we find where you are, Jessica.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, you going to hang out in that spot for more than a year?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
All right. That's good. That's the plan.
That is the plan as of today.
Good.
Life is,
Fluid.
You're taking your talents elsewhere. That's good.
and sharing it with the world.
So the whole premise of Principal PLN is getting principals connected with others to learn from each other. And so where in the world is Jessica Johnson? I have a PD day for Viterbo University today, but I am at the Radisson Hotel in La Crosse.
Wow.
Jay.
Wow, lacrosse.
Anything ringing a bell there for you?
That may have been the first time that you and Kurt and I hung out when we got started in the Twitter journey.
Yes, the first time we ever met in person. I just think it's like perfect.
We met in a hotel room.
I was going to say that does not really sound quite perfect.
It's the story of internet safety. Like you shouldn't be strangers. But we have done Google Hangouts for quite a while to plan to present at a conference together, and then met in person. For the first
That works.
It's Sarah or Jess. It's so funny that you say that. So I had picked up Amber Tiemann for a conference in Grand Rapids in Michigan. And she said whenever she gets where she needs to go, like she calls her mom because her mom wants to make sure that she's landed okay. And she told her not to worry because she's getting a ride from the airport with somebody she met on the internet.
That's
perfect. Theresa, as long as you showed up on time, because when I had to pick up Amber from the airport once, I got confused with time zones and I was an hour late. So that I will never live down. Because who knew that Indiana or whatever state we were in has multiple time zones? Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Tony, thank you for also having a hard time with time zones.
Oh, Jessica.
Jess, I don't think anybody has a hard time with time zones than you are.
No, Jessica, we may have to talk about this because time zones are not my thing at all. What's the point? Like, why can't it just be 8 a.m. everywhere right now? Why does it need to be?
Sorry, it's still dark.
Tony, that's a good point. Unfortunately, Jessica just hasn't mastered the fact that like they do exist, so they exist in different time zones. Different parts of the world operate under that.
Jessica's still
like this morning, like
texting
8 o'clock. She's She's already
telling mistakes.
But see, we're kind of outnumbered, Spike, because they're all in the Central Time Zone except Tony. So.
No, Tony's.
I'm here. It's 8 a.m. That's all that matters. New York.
Don't stress her out because then she's gonna think she's late to her meeting that starts at 8 o'clock. That's crazy, right? 8 o'clock. It's happening right now. We're in 8 o'clock, Jess.
Jess, we love you. See, we always talked about doing a bloopers episode, but maybe our bloopers episode is just live right now.
Yeah. So let's play the game. Something interesting about each of you from when you've been on the podcast. Okay, so let's start with Sarah.
I can't keep a job, so can we do that? No? About that. I'll be that. That'll be my.
How about that?
Oh, Tony.
You're just good at going from district to district to
spread the love and the joy.
Yeah, that's
well, Tony. One day we had you on, and you were a principal.
Yes, one day. That was
a few years ago.
Yeah.
So talk to us about those days. Do you miss being a principal? I know you've had some transition in the central office.
Yes.
And you're going through another transition. So, tell us a little bit about how those transitions have gone.
Well, they've been interesting. And what I can say is that the principalship, from this vantage point now, looking at like an entire organization, I think the principalship is like the key to whatever we want to accomplish in a school district. It really comes down to that leadership. We could talk about vision, we could talk about strategic planning, we could talk about budgeting, but how that all gets enacted and how that all, gets sort of actualized really comes back to the leadership, and in the most positive ways, in the most challenging ways. And I can say that I have so much more respect for the principalship from this vantage point, and just the work that's involved, right? And you're literally doing 9 million things a day, but ultimately there's that overarching thing. You're making the vision come to life. You're making the plan come to life, and yet you're taking care of all these people, and you're making sure that everyone is safe and healthy and learning and happy. So it's pretty amazing to have been in that position, and now look at it from a different vantage point and recognize how significant it is in the whole world of education. So kudos to all of you who are still in that role, and you're making a difference every single day. So thank you for your work. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. Are there days where you would like to be back, at recess, kicking the kickball around and all that kind of stuff? I know you still do.
I do that sometimes. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I think when I realized this year that I had to pivot and kind of go in a different direction, the principalship was very much at the top of the list potentially. But there is a lot about the work at central office that I enjoy, because I feel like, sorry, yeah, go.
Well, following your social media though, Tony, like you don't sit in central office. You get out in schools and in classrooms, and the kids know who you are. Yeah. Like you don't just sit in central office.
I don't. Well, I have ADHD, which is part of the problem, so I can't sit still at all. As I'm sure all of you suffer from it on some level or another. And I think it's, because as you all know, it's the relationships that impact the work that we do, right? And so that we think about what resources we need. We think about financially where we want to allocate money. We think about what people we need to support, what people we need to let loose, in the most positive ways, like let them spread their amazingness. So if we're not connected on that human level, I just feel like you can't do the rest of the work. The rest of the work is just, it's cake when you can have those relationships sort of developing and growing. So yeah. Thank you for saying that, Jessica. And it's good times. It's great to be in education. It's fun. So much to learn and do every day.
Okay, so I have a funny. I looked up when we had you on the podcast, Tony, which was a bajillion years ago. No, actually, it was 2016. I was lying.
It was 2016. I was a little chubbier then.
I think maybe we've had you on twice, but you talked about hacking leadership, and then we also talked about Melinda Miller's funny morning alarms of like 4:30 said exercise today, ? 5 o'clock. Nope, wake up, then whatever. Then 5:30, wake up. You're the principal. What does your alarm say now, Tony? Or what would it say?
My alarm says, get up, here's your chance to change the world.
Oh. Man, he's killing it today.
Very inspirational.
Because I woke up at the right time in the right time.
You have an hour more than us, I think.
You're an hour ahead of us.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
My mind is sharper. Now we turn it over to the rest of you. So go.
Just a reminder, if you're watching and anyone who's on the podcast too, make sure to tweet out on the PrincipalPLN hashtag so that we can give some fun books away, because we've got quite a few to give away here. So we've got some going. What's that?
I'm watching you speak right now, and I feel like I'm watching an episode of Homeland, like based on your situation in the background. I love it. No, like in the most awesome ways. Like I feel like it's gonna take down some sort of like coup somewhere. I love it. I love the background. It's very.
Thank you.
There's Kurt.
Oh no, Kurt Reese
is here.
Okay, is that my cue to leave?
Kurt, you're on mute.
Right on time, Kurt.
Today.
Kurt, you're on mute. You got to unmute yourself.
Fashionably late.
Unmute you. Kurt Reese.
You're right on time, Kurt.
Oh, Kurt's got a crazy echo going on.
Fashionably late.
Talk about time zones.
He is in a time warp.
Well, it's because Kurt and Jessica are in the same city.
That's right.
So that's making him be 10 seconds behind us?
Yes.
No, we have to mute Kurt.
But I want him to introduce himself.
Does he need a headset?
Kurt, you got to have headphones on, I think.
Yeah. Muted myself.
Okay. Because do you have headphones you can put on? I'll be back. Perfect.
Okay. Maybe while we're waiting for him, let's go to Jay. Jay was on episode 66 in September of 2015, and it was titled Running Away from Isolation with Jay Posick.
Nice. I remember that.
I remember that too.
And I don't think he's stopped since then.
No. Jay's been running every day since I was 7.
He's running right now.
Pretty soon I will be. Pretty soon.
Yeah.
And writing a book at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Are you writing a book right now, Jay?
I am going to be having a conversation with some people tomorrow about writing a book. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to the experience. I've always wanted to, and I kind of put it on myself. I'm an old man, so I have to get it done before I have no more things to remember.
Stop.
I am the oldest one here in this group. I know that for a fact.
You have the most wisdom as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, and the most gray hair. I keep looking at everybody's pictures. It's all natural up here.
Yes,
it's only because I dye mine.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you're in good company there, pal.
All right, that's good.
So yeah, tell us what you've been up to.
So I'm in a 5th or 8th grade building, so it's middle school, and middle school can be challenging and it can be exciting. We had our moving up ceremony was on Wednesday night, and I told the parents that were there, I said, I've been in middle school since about 1994, and that's okay. You have to have weird people that are in weird places. Middle school there's a lot of weird that goes on, but there's so many great things that go on with our kids. Some of the community service work that they do is just unbelievable. We have Veterans Day, and the veterans contact us. When is it happening? Well, sir, it's the Veterans Day is the same day every single year. We'll be having it again. Grandparents Day with our middle school kids might sound a little bit different, but those kids have a great time bringing their grandmas and grandpas, their aunts and uncles in and sharing the great things we're doing at our school. So it's just providing those leadership opportunities for middle school kids is what's going to make them the people that are going to lead our world at some point in time. So just had a great time with the moving up ceremony, and we had no kids yesterday, so I rototilled the community garden, and we're all ready to plant next week.
Oh,
cool. That's awesome. And so, keeping with the running theme, talk to us a little bit about your
my obsession.
Your obsession.
Yeah. It's August of 1987. I started running August 30th, and I have not missed a day of running since then. So I'm somewhere over 11,000 days in a row. It'll be 31 years, obviously, in August, and it's just one of those things I can do. I mostly run by myself. I don't run in big groups of people, but when I do run with people, like I ran the Marine Corps Marathon with Sarah in this group here. That was an unbelievable experience, even though the weather was not the best for us. But
80 degrees.
Yeah, it was 80 degrees. And that makes it a little bit tricky for running 26 miles in 80-degree weather is not always the easiest thing. But I think being able to share my passion with somebody else, that was an awesome experience that Sarah and I were able to share. My wife did a great job of getting her sister through the whole intricacies of following a marathon. It takes a little bit of work, but you know, I do it because I need to go to a place where I can get myself back to normal, whatever that sounds like, Tony. I know, you know, I'm not normal, but
you are like one of the most amazing human beings on the planet. If those of you have not spent time in a room with Jay Posick, the energy that this man like just spreads is nothing but positive, amazing, and inspiring. And I like one of the few people in the world that I've met that anytime I leave his presence, I'm smiling and in just such a great place. So Jay, moved to New York. So
yes,
it is awesome.
Because I can find Wisconsin. I don't know where it is in time zone land. So
yeah, Jessica can get you there with her GPS. She has an inverted GPS. Yeah, it'll be 5 minutes just down the road. Just take a right at the first stop sign, and you're there.
Hey Jay, don't ever let anybody accuse you of being normal. All right?
No, that's not going to happen.
Well, and honestly, Jay, your pod PLN, that was the first one I ever watched or listened to.
Oh, wow.
It was my first ever podcast was yours because you talked about principles in action. And I remember I pulled over. I was driving to Milwaukee, which is in the same time zone as Minnesota, Jessica. But I pulled over on the interstate and I downloaded the Voxer app and I messaged Adam and I got in the group. So that was my first group.
Yeah.
So there's my little connection here.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was a great experience. I had never been on a podcast before, so this is my second one. So it was number 66 and now number 100. So I appreciate you inviting me back. And Tony, in August, I will be in the great city of New York.
And so will I.
I know, and we will connect in some way because I've been telling all of my friends that you will be our tour guide to go anywhere we'd like to.
Yes, no problem. You know, I'm happy to do that.
Make sure you give him a high Uber rating if he's driving you around.
For sure, please.
I'm not even going to talk about Tony driving. That's just not a good thing.
Can you all hear me?
Now we can.
Yeah.
Now we can.
Good.
Oh, you're back.
Here. Okay, so Jay brought up that he ran with Sarah, ran a marathon, and I think that brings a really good point that when you build a PLN, you know, starting on Twitter and then on Voxer and whatever, you build really good friendships too. Because I mean, I feel like all of you are really good friends of mine. Like you're not just principals on Twitter that I stalk, but also like, you know, from that, Sarah, Jessica, and Jay and I, we ran a half marathon as well.
Yeah.
Yep. In Eau Claire, which is in the same time zone.
Which also had Luke Stordahl.
That's right.
Yeah.
And everybody has these connections. It's really cool.
Yes. See, and this shows how real this podcast is, that there's now children walking into the podcast.
Right. Just woke up, has no idea what we're doing, and you're live.
Morning.
And she can't hear you at all.
Okay.
Say good morning.
So before we move on to the next person, Jay, okay, here's a
fun fact
trivia question. When Jay was on episode 66, we also chatted about something crazy that both Jay and Spike had done at their schools that week. It was a Principals in Action challenge.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Oh, I remember this one.
You both did it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which one it was.
Was it ride?
It wasn't running.
Was it riding a tricycle?
Riding a tricycle? Yes.
Yes, you both rode a tricycle that week at your schools.
Yes.
My tricycle was like from the 1950s too. I remember that. It was very difficult. Like it was very authentic, one of those old school ones. And I thought I was going to
two wheels. No,
no, you definitely. The picture of you in our show notes is hilarious.
Yeah,
Spike. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And all those kids were like, "What is he doing?" Like,
the middle school kids thought I was just being me, so it wasn't a big deal at all because I do weird stuff like that often. It's fun.
Oh, that's so awesome.
They got to see you as a real person. If they don't see you as a real person, then there's no respect or relationships that are built. So you got to keep that in mind. You know, if you're going to be somebody different, they're going to catch on to that quicker than you realize. So just be you.
Yeah, like the other night we had a lip sync battle, and one of the vice principals and I, we dressed up like Austin Powers and Mini Me, and we were out in our outfits walking around as people were coming in, and that's what you got to do.
Yes.
Spike, which one were you?
I was actually mini-me. And
I really hoped you were going to say that.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm not going to lie. So when we're talking about support and PLNs, hence where this comes from, just a little background on how this whole thing all started, because Spike was looking back through the back before we started, and our first episode was in 2013. So it's been 5 years, because that was the first year that I was a principal, and Melinda Miller and Scott Elias had done their principal podcast it had been years before that. And then they stopped and there was nothing. So I reached out to Melinda and was like, hey, you want to do a podcast? Because there's nothing and I'm a principal and I'm scared to death. She was like, I can't commit, but you should talk to Jessica. Oh. And so I was like, oh, that's good, because Jessica was on my list of people to reach out to. And so I did. And we were like, we kind of need a third. So Jessica,
third wheel.
We need to break this up a little bit. And
we need a tricycle.
That's right. We need the third wheel of the tricycle. And so Jessica had sent out some feelers and Spike responded back and he was pretty geeked. And ever since then, these two have been, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people who listen, have been phenomenal mentors and helps getting through the first years and the third years and the new years and and everything in between. You both for being willing to jump in here and share yourselves with everybody.
It's been awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it has.
Theresa, that's so accurate too, because I just think about you all just kind of provided a really nice little safety net and a space for me to feel some confidence in a time in my leadership when I needed it the most. So for sure, that it's just kind of really cool to hear how that evolved, and knowing that what you just said is exactly what's true for probably anybody listening if this is their first time, catching it, because they're just getting into the administrative world and figuring out hashtags and Twitter and all of that. It's just kind of this legacy that's living on, and it's really beautiful. So thank you all for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, another fun trivia question. When Sarah Johnson was on this podcast, what crazy thing had she done?
I hadn't done it yet.
Oh, she was going to do. Okay, Theresa and Spike can't answer.
I can't. Yeah.
Do I get to answer?
I was obsessed with it though when we talked about it.
I think we should leave this one for a second. I think we should let it wait, because
and see if
anybody can answer it on a tweet.
Oh, there you go.
If anybody who's listening can answer it.
Well, then I think you need to give them more, because I do a lot of crazy things. So maybe it's something a little more specific to what Spike's mind.
This was one that Spike and I had never heard of.
Yeah, and if they're listening in the future on a podcast, like through iTunes or whatever, if you just tweet us and you have that answer, we'll still give you credit. But this is a big one.
We're giving the book away early though, so.
Yeah,
you'll get credit, but you won't get in the book.
Okay.
Well, maybe what I could say though is while you're waiting, the fun part is I can't remember how it evolved, but I think it was something about how we were going to get that going. And it might have been around the question about how building back some culture from something that had been pretty deteriorated that year. And the fun part is now, I think has it been 3 years since I was on it, or 2? It was the end of my first year, so now it's the end of my 4th year. But anyway, we accomplished what that was. We did it, so that's pretty fun to know that actually occurred in my school.
And it's something that really only happens in Wisconsin. Probably somewhere else.
I have a cat.
You were on episode.
Wow.
Sarah was on episode 63 in August 2015, serving up high school on a spoon.
On a spoon.
On a spoon.
Because it's Spooner.
Yeah, that was funny. I wish we had a crazy picture of what you were doing. All right, Kurt Reese, we want to hear from you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Kurt.
Good morning, Kurt.
Hi, Kurt.
Speaks. Yes. How are you, Kurt? Everybody introduced themselves a while ago. Can you introduce yourself?
I will do that. My name is Kurt Reese. I'm principal at State Road Elementary in the School District of La Crosse. And I just looked up. I was on episode 47.
Nice.
2014.
Inbox zero.
That was the infamous inbox.
Inbox zero.
Yeah, Spike said, no one's going to want to talk about email.
I know. That's been like downloaded so many different times.
Yes.
Nobody does want to talk about email, but
nobody wants to
do it.
We're talking about how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you give us some updates on how you're doing, Kurt, and how things are going?
Yeah, so I just finished my second year at a new school. Previously, I'd been in one school district on Alaska for 13 years. Great place to work. But then the elementary school that's literally just down the road from my house opened up. And that's the same school district where my kids go. So I applied and was happy that I was offered the job. So it's good. If you ever find yourself stuck in a rut, take a new job because it'll make you rethink so much of what you do. Yeah, Tony and I have talked about that too.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tony, any thoughts on that?
So Kurt and I are writing a book about that, actually.
Tony and I are not writing a book about running.
Whoa! Did you hear that, Tony?
No, well, we're doing action research. Come on, Kurt. You like.
Oh, that's a good time.
And so, how's the transition been? Like any insights?
That it takes a long time for a culture to really come together. Having been in my previous place for 13 years, by the time I left, I had hired almost everybody. Just as people move on and retire, so then you just kind of build those relationships together because you've seen where someone has been since day one. And I'm not saying that at my current school I need people to retire or anything like that. It's just they all have a history together where I just don't have that with them right now. But I've found that it's quicker to make connections like with the school families, and maybe that's just because it's the neighborhood in which I live too. But that's been a really good thing. So that's come around a lot faster. But yeah, we're on the right track, and I really appreciate the staff that I work with, and I've got some good bosses and very supportive. So I look forward to year 3.
Awesome.
So you mentioned culture, and that reminded me that we have to give away books today. So I'm going to give away the book Lead with Culture, and I am using Tweet Draw, and the winner of that will be Melissa Kartzimus.
Oh. Hey, congratulations.
Way to go, Melissa.
I'll contact you later, Melissa, if you're listening.
That's the best.
And we have lots of books to give away too. Should I give away something
I think
else?
Give them more away.
Jess,
Okay.
Can we give something? I just was looking like on our hashtag. We have somebody that's tuned in from South Africa. I don't know how we would get. I know you just gave me that look. Like there's someone from South Africa listening today.
I can't figure out my GPS. How would I ship something to South Africa? I would need help there. Just kidding.
Go to UPS.
It's the same time zone as Wisconsin, so don't worry.
It would end up in South Dakota.
They're Cape Town in the U.S. That's where it's going.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. And Mark French is listening.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark French.
There's a lot. Rachel Apostle Brown is listening. Donald Gately is listening.
Don is the best. He's great too.
Yes, there are a ton of awesome people, amazing people listening right now. This is so great. So great. So nobody's responded with what Sarah surprised us with when she was on.
Do I get to tell you then?
I think you do.
All right. So we were going to do a fundraiser, and in Wisconsin, most people know about this donkey basketball, baby.
Oh, yeah.
You get donkeys in a gym, which I still think is kind of crazy for how careful we are. Like no heels walking on that gym floor, but we're going to put some donkey hooves on there.
Yeah, right in there.
Yep.
And I'm happy to say that I did not get bucked off the donkey, but I am annoyed because if anybody that knows me, my dean of students says that I have little dog syndrome because I'm not afraid of anything. And I wanted the nasty donkey, the one that was going to buck people off, and the guy wouldn't let me. So that was pretty interesting, but he took care of me. That's good then. So I didn't break my spine or anything, you know.
Great, yeah.
In my previous school district, when I was working and living in Illinois, our superintendent told a horrible story about donkey basketball in a previous district he was at, where he did get bucked off and fell and just had a real severe injury to his arm, broke both bones there, and so He said, needless to say, there'll never be donkey basketball in any district I'm the leader of.
So
I was fine with that.
Yeah, that's fine because it's really risky. It's just one of the most vulnerable things that you're doing because, well, I mean, there's another name for donkey. So you kind of feel like one of those out on the floor in front of everybody watching you.
Oh my goodness.
Are you talking about mules?
Yes, here. So, I'm just being real careful.
So I think if you play donkey basketball, that really contributes to your culture. So I'm going to give away Culturized by Jimmy Casas to Rachel Castle Brown.
Yay, Rachel!
Yay. Rachel.
Awesome.
And you know what? I also want to give away the book Hacking Early Learning, but that would really be Jessica Cabeen giving that one away. So Jessica, why don't you talk for a little bit?
Oh, well, I can always talk. Always talk. I'm used to 400 kindergartners every single day.
I'm a kindergartner still.
That's so funny.
Yes. We can talk kindergarten then. We can totally talk kindergarten.
All right, let's get the paint out. Let's start working on our numbers, kids.
Legos. Let's do some dress up. Let's play.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
Okay.
Wow.
I can prove that.
All right, you get an A+. I think you're going to first grade, young
Right
lady.
there.
First grade, yes.
Yes,
Right,
right
good.
there.
All right, good.
Right there.
That's
So,
so awesome.
trick question. What interesting thing happened when Jessica Cabeen was on the podcast?
Oh, poor Jessica Johnson.
Wow.
Got her show notes wrong.
Yeah.
We've never had you on the podcast.
I can't believe
Not
that.
yet. Not yet.
Well, now we have.
Now.
And probably episode 101, I think you're going to get like a little message like, hey, we'd like to have you on the show.
Bean's getting a cameo in 101.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
But let's give us a preview since this is your first time on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about what's going on and where you are and where you're going.
Absolutely. So I spent 6 years at the kindergarten center, and in Austin, Minnesota, all kindergartners come to one school and then they go out to 4 elementary schools. So I was just doing the math. I have been able to be the principal of over 2,500 students in the last 6 years. So that means in a community of about 24,000 people, when I go to the grocery store, I'm flash mobbed. Like Justin Bieber, the beans out, I'll be out running later today and kids will roll down the window and like holler at me. Last night at graduation, it was incredible. The relationships you build at those younger years just continue to grow. But prior to that, I was an assistant middle school principal for 3 years. And so now last night, I got to watch my last class of middle schoolers walk the stage, which was incredible. It's one of those moments where you're like, when they were 8th graders, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then when they graduate, and like 3 of them came up to me last night, like, we are so sorry for everything we did to you. And I'm like, I don't even remember you anymore. That's how much amnesia you have in middle school. But after 6 wonderful years, I think I'm taking Tony and Kurt's lead and I'm going back to the middle school.
Wow.
So I'm going from the happiest place in Austin, Minnesota to 7th and 8th graders. So, I don't know.
That's my life.
The second happiest place in Austin, Minnesota is going to be Ellis Middle School. So July 2nd, I start there. So it's going to be really exciting because after this next year, I'll get all my classes again. So I get to see all my families. Austin's super diverse, over like 24 different languages represented. So really excited to see so many first generation students going through the K-12 system and really helping them to continue to dream big. So that's kind of my life right now.
Jessica, what was since it was an internal job, did you have to apply, or what was the application process like for you?
Yes. I actually had to have a job interview, Kurt. Like, it's been like I had to go into this Applitrack system, and there was an Applitrack when I first came to this district. So
Tony could have given you a tutorial.
I could have actually.
I should have Google Hangout with Tony.
You should have. And I actually, Appletrack and I are really good friends. So I spend a lot of time.
Now it's your job now if you're HR?
Yeah, it's also my job now as superintendent. I spend a lot of time on Appletrack and I know how to use the system. It's pretty.
Isn't it true that Tony, that once you do one, like you can just get multiple? Yes. Okay. Exactly. Was that making it easier for you too?
It is a great system. And when you're when you're deciding to look for jobs, it's great to have it all there.
Kurt, it was interesting. So doing the interview, I had to do like a presentation, a 10-minute presentation, like a site plan, goals and everything. Well, now that I'm not even in the role yet, I've hired 3 teachers. And thank goodness I did that presentation, because now I can cite how many kids we have in the building, all the different demographics, all our state testing information. Because I sat down to the first interview last week and I said, did I need to know the social studies standards before I came into this interview process? I've been in kindergarten for 6 years. So I probably know more about the map than Jess Johnson does, but 7th and 8th grade standards in social studies, I might be a little lost.
What do you know more about me then?
Which states are located in time zones.
Oh, okay.
Time zones.
Yeah.
And it's like super tricky to interview with people you know too. I think it's sometimes
incredible.
easier. Yeah. Strangers are easier in that sense.
Absolutely, Kurt. Mm-hmm.
So Jessica Cabeen had a book come out like a month ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And called Hacking Early Learning. And we're going to give away that book to Laura Kranzel, who is Laura first podcast, and she sent out her first tweet.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Oh my God,
Laura.
And she wins a book.
She wins a book.
See, you get good things out of it.
I think she's going to go for a run after this, and she's going to apply for a new job.
There we go. And then maybe join middle school.
And then write a donkey.
And write it.
And then apply for her next job.
What does that even mean?
All right.
What does it mean?
I think we've had everybody talk. How about it's summer now. Actually, no, it's not.
Oh, come on.
Spike are still in school. They're going to
I have school.
It was a low blow.
Wait, Kurt, are you still in school? No, okay.
No, we're done. We are
So
done.
Teresa and
Kurt's
Spike
probably
are
out fly
still...
fishing, relaxing.
So am I. I still have school for like 6 more weeks. Come on.
See, you all are in that time zone, and you give me time zone crap. You're still in school. Karma. Time zone karma.
There you go.
Okay.
No one die
So
in there?
people in summer, then, why don't you give advice to principals about what do you do now that it's summer?
Go back to work the next day and plan for next year.
You're still in school and you're stressed and have PTSD from your walkie-talkie.
Well, isn't this the chance though to just be real? You've got to take some time for yourself.
Yeah.
You just do it. I mean, we've all experienced that where the end of the year happens and then you got to take a breather. Otherwise you'll just never get out of the cycle. And boy, that just is so unbalancing. So take a trip, even if it's a staycation, a day, whatever, get away, reset.
Get a pedicure. That
Yes.
feels good.
That's good advice.
I'm serious.
You can still do that even if you're still in school. I did one yesterday.
Darn Skippy. And for those who run, you need to be doing them regularly, I think.
Tony, nobody wants to see my feet.
I know mine either. Runners Unite. Yeah, Jay, that's right.
No one needs to look at it. Just enjoy the experience. It's relaxing and calm. It's good.
You have to find a way to reconnect with your family because especially at the end of the year, your family takes backstage, sometimes not even in the same theater that you're in, you know? So you have to find a way to reconnect with them. So, you know, that's the most difficult part, I think, when we get to that crazy time at the end of the year, because you're so focused on the kids at school and the staff and making sure everything's good for them that you forget your own family. So we got to do something. So,
yeah, very true. Good point, Jay.
Fish fry last night. That's how we started things back up again with the family. So it was good.
I think a good couple of days of disconnect is not a bad idea either. Like take the email off the phone or just leave the phone at home or whatever. We went out to dinner last night and I forgot my phone here, and it was the best 2.5 hours that I've had in a bit. It makes a difference to just physically be away from it all.
Even just cleaning up the closets at home. My house has like, I haven't been in my house awake very much the month of May and June. So just going home, like you said, turning the phone off and just organizing things, cleaning out the house, just, really reconnecting with your family and putting your priorities back.
Yeah, those like monotonous things that you can just have your brain like not be thinking about other things.
I'm sorry, were you saying something?
Oh, Jay. So I'm actually listening to the audiobook Bored and Brilliant.
Yes.
Spacing out. Oh, I just lost it.
Manouche.
Actually,
Yeah, Manouche Zambrodi.
that was the book that Kurt and I were going to write.
Bored and Brilliant.
But we were busy changing time.
No, I highly recommend it. But it's about
So
that,
good.
disconnecting yourself from, all the social media, which this is a podcast about being connected on social media.
Right.
But you need to. It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a big part of our journey too, is talking about connection, and then also talking about the downsides of connection, where you become overly connected, stressed out, and spread yourself too thin, and then you're disconnected. So it really is a balance. I'm looking forward to. I just got this book. I'm not going to read it until the summer, though, which still's like 2 weeks away. Teach, Breathe, Learn, Mindfulness in and Out of the Classroom. And I've become such a big believer in mindfulness, meditation, yoga, hiking, just because that is my way of disconnecting. Like what Tony says, put the phone down and all that. I think it really makes the time that you are connected better when you are doing a disconnect and you are balancing it. I think it's so big. And it helps out teachers, it helps out students. And I believe too, you have to model that. So we have to model what we're looking for.
I could tell you that even just being in the habit of not responding or sending emails over the weekend, especially for our team as a leadership team, I tried to be as conscious of that as I could throughout the year, because I don't want people to feel like that's the expectation just because I'm doing it. So I'll often write emails and just leave them in my inbox, and then Monday morning, in the draft phase, and get them out. So it is that importance of modeling Spike is pretty critical.
What we've been doing, Tony, because we try to do that too, is to keep emails from the weekend. Yeah. And we've been using Boomerang as a district admin team, so that you can still write them, just schedule them to go out on Monday morning. Then you don't even they're not in your draft box, they're done. Yeah. But that's been a really big help for us.
Yeah, that's huge.
Okay. I've read Dr. Michelle Borba's Unselfie. If you guys haven't read that one yet, I love that as a principal, as an educator, and as a parent. It just, the world of being so connected and how that really impacts even us as adults, and how it's impacting our students' ability to really relate to other people. And she gives such great examples of how schools and people are really trying to build that empathetic skill set back in our society. But that was a great one too. I read that last summer. And then of course my kids were the clinical trials at home. I read it and I'm like, we're going to try this at home.
Jessica, is it research based? Does she include research in the book?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And then she talks about the research, but then she's been out in different school settings and community settings, and how she's seeing teachers and educators bringing some of those empathetic practices back into schools. And I think for at least, I went to high school in northern Wisconsin where we did have donkey basketball, but I learned keyboarding on an actual typewriter. Like my teacher put the paper over my hands. So I didn't have email, until I got out of college, all those things. So we're so novice in this, and our kids are so much more developed in this. And so just building those self-regulation skills for adults too, because I think we probably regulate ourselves worse than the kids with some of this technology.
Yeah. Thank you. I just ordered it. Thank you. Yeah, seriously. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to add these to the show notes. I
haven't been keeping any notes at all.
Kurt just added Kurt, I have that book too. And there's one for I feel like there's another one too that I gave to my son, because I think there's like a younger version.
Yeah, the book I'm referring to is Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't.
Yes, that's a good book.
Yeah, my wife recommended that one. And as Spike was talking about being connected, sometimes when you're so connected, you start to doubt yourself because you see all these really cool things that other folks are doing, and then you get the fear of missing out and all the rest of that. So I just think it's important that we all work on ourselves too, and just really understand our own strengths and powers, and stop comparing ourselves to one another, which we do to ourselves. I mean, no one else is doing that. That's a choice.
Great point, Kurt.
So we've been talking about balance and getting a life and all of those things. We have 3 books, I think, that are good for that. Or wait, maybe I'm just going to give away 3 books. Okay.
There you go.
Breaking Out of Isolation, which Spike and Theresa and I wrote. That is going to Andrew Broer.
Andrew!
Yay!
Andrew!
Did I say his last name right?
He's awesome.
He's great.
And he's in Illinois. Same time zone.
Actually, I'm going to see him twice next month because he's going to NPC, National Principals Conference, and he's going to the Coach Approach Institute. So I'll get to meet him twice in person.
Nice.
Okay, also going to give away The Path to Serendipity. I just love that title. To Rachel Postle Brown.
Yeah, Rachel.
May have said it wrong. Sorry.
No.
And then coming out in July is Balance Like a Pirate, written by Sarah Johnson, Jessica Cabeen, and I. And that is going to Jenna Sherry, who is in Wisconsin. And
Gina.
Sorry.
You'll be able to ride your bike over to her house and drop it.
It's just down the street.
Jess, you're like the Oprah. You get a book, and you get a book, and you get a book. I love it.
That's exciting.
All right, we have 2 more books to give away, but we should probably chat a little bit more.
Yeah.
But we got 10 minutes.
How about okay, so this is the time of the year that educators either just got a job as a principal or they're applying and they're going to get a job pretty soon to start their principalship. What's a piece of advice to brand new principals getting ready to start this gig?
Be yourself. Especially when you're interviewing. Because if you're interviewing as someone else or you're not being your complete and total self while you're interviewing, they may hire you for who you interviewed as, and you're going to be miserable in your job.
It's beautiful. That's true.
I would say if you're a brand new principal, like you've never had an admin job before, and you get hired, they're not expecting you to change the world right away. If a school or a district is looking for an admin to make a bunch of changes, likely they're going to hire a veteran or someone with a track record of doing that. So I would agree with Theresa. Be yourself, get to know people, take time, just do lots of listening, be present in classrooms, stand at the bus drop off and pick up, just get to know everybody. Have fun, smile, dear God, smile. That's what I need to do more.
Yes. I would say also develop an entry plan. Think about what you're going to do with intentionality to build those relationships, to do the things that Kurt and Theresa just spoke about. Think about interviewing people and listening to people, and whether it's one-on-one conversations, focus groups, that information is really going to be critical to, I think, you understanding the context, right? And what I've learned in my journey is that leadership is just as much about the place as it is about the skill set of the leader. And those things cannot be mutually exclusive, right? It doesn't work just with one or the other. So get to know the space and think about an entry plan that you can articulate for the community so they know how you're engaging them.
I think you also have to make sure that you reflect by yourself and find something really good that you did that day, and then maybe something that you need to work on. Because oftentimes all educators think about all the stuff that happened that was bad before they think about what was good.
Good point.
So you have to have that. You have to have a positive outlook on things, even if it's the worst possible day you could have had. Something good happened. Maybe you got a first smile from a kid who hadn't smiled at you all year.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I think is really important is to find. I have a building leadership team who my superintendent is amazed at because of how we interact with one another. There's no baloney that goes on. It's all you got to be upfront and honest, and that's the only way you're going to get things to go in the right direction for your kids and your staff. And I send out an email every Friday and it says, "Good morning, Merton family," and it's true. We are a family because we're there for all of our kids. So just find that way to reflect, and then find that strong group of people that can be there to support you even when things aren't going well. And then try and be a duck, calm on the top but paddling like hell underneath.
There you go. That's great.
I think, and I'd add just at the end to go home at night.
Yeah.
Go home.
Yeah.
I think going back home. Yeah, I think going back to the middle school, when I was there before, I was 12-hour days, and my oldest son was only like 4. And I can remember days I didn't see him awake.
Yeah.
And so my challenge to myself is when I go back now, the work's always going to be there, but by 5:30, I got to shut it down. And fortunately for 3 years, my boys are going to be in that building. So they'll be my presence and reminder to time to go home. But I think as a new principal, you think you've got to take it all on in the first 30 days or 60 days.
Right.
And it's going to burn out, and you're not modeling that for your friends too.
Great point.
The other thing that I would add too is you know, we have a lot of listeners who are aspiring administrators, you know, and I know that that can be a real frustrating time because, you know, we hear this a lot, and I work with a lot of aspiring administrators, like in I teach grad school, and, you know, they're armed with all the ideas, they're ready, they're connected, they're, you know, and then they don't find always the right fit, or they can't get in, and that can be frustrating. So do you guys have any words of advice too for those aspiring administrators out there about this process?
The fit needs to be two-way. Like, don't just run to get a job. Do a lot of research about the space that you're applying to. Find out as much as you can. Go online, look at their website, look at the minutes from board meetings, look at what pictures they share. Just really get to know a community that you're considering being a part of, because as badly as you may want that first job, you also don't want it to be in a space that's not the right fit for you, because it'll potentially affect your thinking around the work. And you don't want that to be the case. So do as much research, talk to people, drive to the community, just really get to know the space would be my recommendation.
100%.
I would say too, just to have a level of awareness that, you know, it's so easy when you are not in the role to think about, oh, you know, I could do that so much better, or, you know, just thinking about what you think you know, but until you're behind the desk, you just literally have no clue, and just be ready to learn a lot, because the learning curve from the classroom, if that's what your role is, to the office is just, it's such a steep curve. And reach out, you know, connect yourself. Any one of us, I'm certain, would love to connect with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I bring something up real quick about our Vox? We haven't talked about Voxer too much, but there's a Voxer group that's called #admin2B, ADMIN, the number 2 and the letter B. Oh, maybe it might be BE. Anyways, it's a group of people that are trying, either are very new into administration or are trying to get into administration. And some of the conversations that we have about the interview process and getting the right fit, all those things could be helpful for somebody who's on a search.
Awesome. Yeah. And I want to shout out to Sam Wallace, because Jay, I just love such a sign of leadership is just building other leaders. And Jay's so good at that. And so there's a young aspiring educator who clearly has a passion that's on Twitter, that's connected with Jay personally, and now is just out there. And I haven't, you know, met him yet, but it's just, that's such a cool sign of your leadership, Jay. Thank you for doing that, for building this profession.
Well, thanks. It's all good. He was a student teacher and worked with us for just 3 months, and we had a connection, and he got a job. He's a head track coach. And so I think we had a little in common with our running stuff that we like to do, but he has stayed connected, and he's a real good egg. So wishing him the best.
Way to go, Jay.
Thanks.
All right. I'm going to give away 2 more books. The Secret Solution.
So what?
That one's coming out, The Secret Solution to Everything.
Okay.
That's Todd Whitaker and, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget the other 2 co-authors, but it's coming out again, like it's being redone. So that book is going to Mark French.
Everyone loves Mark French.
Awesome. Yay. How could you not love Mark
French? Meet that man in person. He's so amazing.
He is.
I want to.
Oh, wait, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead. Nothing. Nope.
Oh, I was just going to give out another book.
Please do.
You get a book. You get a book. You get a book.
Rachel Postle Brown. So Allison Apsey wrote The Path to Serendipity, and Allison and Rachel are pretty much neighbors in Michigan. I mean, they're close in Michigan terms, but she just responded, such a great book by the amazing Allison Apsey. I have a copy and bought 3 to give away if you want to spread the love to someone outside of Michigan. So why don't we redraw for someone to send Path to Serendipity to? Thank you, Rachel.
Okay. Hold on a minute. Let me, I'll
do these first. Yep.
Okay. I'm giving out Lead Like a Pirate, which is to Aaron Jennings.
Yay.
Okay. And I'm going to re-give out. Okay. Talk for a minute while I figure out how to redo this.
I just want to state that I have held back from singing at least 5 songs from the things you have all said today, and you're welcome, but it's been hard.
We're proud of you.
Start singing.
Yeah, sing it, girl.
Can we have a little pink?
Do your thing, honey.
All right.
To Jay while running the marathon, did I not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It's okay.
I love when you break out in song. And do you know who else loves when you break out in song? Who's not on this podcast, but he's cool.
Oh,
Joe Sanfilippo.
He loves it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That man. He's my number one fan.
Did you just say that
running and singing?
He's cool. Oh, he loves running. Yes, that's
Loves running, loves singing, loves dancing.
Very much his favorite pastime. He actually loves also when I do popsicle.
What?
Oh, is that from?
That's Joe's favorite.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Joe did say he left us a tweet about 20 minutes ago that said that the podcast is not coming through on Internet Explorer, but he only has 3 hours left on the CD he stole from Thomas Murray's office, so he's hoping he'll be able to chime in.
That would be Joe. That would be Joe.
So
whatever, Joe.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
It is. Yeah, he's a busy guy. That's right.
All right, so I'm giving away the path to serendipity to Mary Begley, who is on a run listening to us.
Nice.
Way to go.
Yes.
She's on the path to serendipity.
Awesome.
On a what?
The path to serendipity? I don't know.
I'm certain she's running on a dirt trail then with birds and trees around her.
Okay.
It sounds like a good path to be on.
For sure.
It does.
Listening to us.
I need to get on the path to breakfast. So I love all of it. It has been so much fun. Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it. And you guys are an inspiration every day. And the positive energy that comes from this group of people. And like Jessica said, it starts as, well, Jessica Johnson, J-Jo. It starts as like this network online, but it becomes the people who sustain you, your family and your friends. So I adore all of you very much, and thank you for inspiring me every day.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Tony. Same to you, buddy.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Tony.
Thanks to everybody. We were hoping it would be a great big party, and it was.
It was, yeah.
Thank you. And hopefully we'll have 100 more episodes.
Yes. It's time to say goodbye to all our family.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica, do you have something that you have to say before we?
I always do.
Yeah.
Principal and out. Awkward.